What's up, everyone? How's it going? We're going to start off with our lower extremities now, starting off with our hips. And we're going to do this, you could either do this standing or you could do this sideline position. I'm going to show you standing first. Right now I have two dowels with me. You could use dowels, broomsticks, whatever. Or you could use a door post to help you as you just grab onto the door post. So the good thing with these dowels and a doorpost is as you grab onto them, you could use them to help irradiate the muscles in your upper body as well as your core. So to start off, my sticks are going to be at 11 and 1 o'clock. I'm going to press down into the floor about 30% tension. And we're going to start off with our right hip here. And I'm going to bend at that right knee. And then I'm going to bring my right foot and my right knee all the way across my body into hip abduction. And then we're going to go all the way up as far as I can to hip flexion, knee towards the chest. And now I'm going to open up into hip abduction right here as I open up all the way. And then from here, I'm going to try to bring the right heel up towards the sky as best I can into hip internal rotation. And then I'm going to kick back just from the hip into hip extension. My right knee is going to meet my left, and I'm going to reverse that as I go back into extension. Once again, just from the hips, watch that lower back. Now from here, I'm going to open up back into abduction. And then I'm going to go up towards hip flexion. And then I'm going to go back across and end into hip adduction. Foot meets foot. And now that is one rep. Let's go do another one. As we bend at that right knee again, bringing our right foot and our right knee across our body into hip adduction. Go into hip flexion as you go up to the top. Go into hip abduction, back of our right, or the right heel goes up towards the back of our head. I'm going to go into extension as we kick back from the hip. Right knee meets the left, and let's reverse that as we go back into extension. Open up into abduction, go all the way up into flexion, and all the way across once again into hip adduction. Foot meets foot, shake it all out, and do the same thing on the other side. Alright everyone, so we're going to do a side view of our hip cars. So once again, I have these dowels. I'm going to do this standing up. I'm going to start bringing pressure into these dowels down into the floor at left hand's at 11, right hand's at 1 o'clock. I'm going to press down about 30%, start irradiating my upper body. Taking a big deep breath in and packing it all into my core. And I'm going to bend at that right knee. And I'm going to bring my right foot all the way across as well as my right knee, hip abduction. I'm going to go up to hip flexion, bringing my knee up to my chest as far as I can. Open all the way out into hip abduction, and the back of my right heel is going to go up towards the back of my head. Internal rotation of the hip, and then I'm going to extend back just from the hip, watching that lower back. Hip extension, right knee meets the left, and let's reverse that as we go back into extension. Open up into hip abduction. Go up into hip flexion, bringing the knee as far up as you can. And now we're going to go all the way across once again, and all the way back down. And that is one rep. We're going to do another one as I bend at that right knee. Bringing my right foot and my right knee across into hip adduction. Hip flexion. Hip abduction. Internal rotation of the hip. Kicking back into hip extension. Right knee meets the left. Kicking back into hip extension. Opening up into hip abduction, hip flexion, and then bringing it back into hip abduction, all the way back down. All right, awesome job. Do the same thing on the other side. All right, everyone, so we went over our controlled articular rotations for our hip standing. Now we're going to do it in a side lying position. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to do it on my lying on my right side with my left hip up, just so that my left hip can get some loving today. I have a yoga block here, and we're going to use this as a pillow. You can use whatever you want as a pillow. You don't even need a pillow, but I assure you it's much more comfortable when you're lying on your side. Okay, so I'm going to lie on my right side with my left hip up. My left hip is stacked on top of my right hip. I'm going to open up my hips about a little bit more than 90 degrees so I have a little bit of space. I'm going to take a big deep breath in, pack it all into my core. Now start radiating all the muscles in my body about 30%. I'm going to bend at that left knee and I'm going to bring it all the way forward up to my chest. Hip flexion. I'm going to open up into hip abduction. My left heel is going to go back towards my head. Hip internal rotation. And then from here we're going to go into hip extension as we extend just from the hip, watching that lower back. Left knee meets the right, and let's reverse that as we go back into extension. Open up into abduction. Bring it back into full flexion. Left knee meets the right. And that was 1 rep. Let's go one more time. As you go up towards flexion. Open up into abduction. Left heel goes back towards your head. Extend back just from the hip extension. Left knee meets the right. Extend all the way back. Open up into hip abduction. Bring it all the way forward and across. Hip flexion, knee meets knee, and you completed 2 reps. Remember to do 2 to 3 reps for your morning routine. Remember to do both sides.